Sometimes a place isn't just a dot on the map. Sometimes that dot hides unanswered questions, lost lives, and mysteries no one has been able to solve. In the northeastern United States, deep in the heart of Vermont, there's a place like that. A place where some who entered were never seen again. No clues, no explanations. They vanished almost as if the earth itself swallowed them whole. So what really happened here? Were these disappearances just a coincidence? Or is this region under the influence of something truly unexplained? Right now, we're opening the dark file of the Bennington Triangle. If you're ready, let's begin. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. Your support means a lot to me. Welcome to my channel, Discovery of the Mystery, where we will uncover the secrets. In the northeastern United States, in the state of Vermont, a forested area lying between three small settlements has made headlines for years due to a series of unexplained disappearances. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished within this narrow region. None of the missing were related or even acquainted. Their ages, genders, and occupations were completely different. Yet despite that, they all shared the same fate, disappearing without a trace. And even after all these years, none of those disappearances have ever been solved. As these events kept repeating, the local people began to believe they couldn't possibly be coincidences. That's when the area earned its chilling name, the Bennington Triangle. So was something truly strange happening in this place? Or were all of these just coincidences? Today, the region we now call the Bennington Triangle is known for its mysterious reputation, but in the past, it was home to several small settlements. Places like Glastonbury, Somerset, and Shaftesbury were lively but fragile towns that grew in the 1800s, mostly due to logging and mining. However, the mountainous terrain made these towns hard to reach. Still, despite all the difficulties, the region's rich resources were enough to keep the settlements alive. But that didn't last very long. Toward the end of the 19th century, as natural resources began to run out, people quickly started abandoning the area. Because of this, railroad lines were dismantled, houses were left empty, and public buildings were left to rot as most of the population moved elsewhere. By the 1940s, the area had been largely forgotten. Some of the settlements no longer even appeared on maps. For example, the town of Glastonbury officially lost its town status in 1937, as its population had dropped so low that the state declared it an ungovernable area. In short, what we now call the Bennington Triangle was once a place where people lived. But after it was abandoned, it slowly returned to the control of nature. And it was exactly during this time that 5 mysterious and completely unexplained disappearances occurred. Events that would turn the Bennington Triangle into a legend. The first of these disappearances happened on November 12, 1945. That day, a 74-year-old local man named Mitty was guiding a group of 4 hunters through the area. Mitty had spent most of his life hunting and fishing in these woods. He knew every inch of the mountains, valleys, and trails like the back of his hand. That day, as darkness fell, he was trying to lead the group back to their campsite along a path known as the Long Trail, walking ahead to guide them. But then he suddenly vanished. The group said it happened so fast. They figured he was just a little further ahead, waiting for them. But no matter how far they walked, they couldn't catch up to him. And when they arrived at the campsite, there was no Mitty, no campfire, not even a trace of life. Even after waiting at the campsite for hours, no one ever showed up. The next day, a search operation was launched immediately. Police officers, volunteers, mountain rescue teams, and tracking dogs combed the area for days, but not a single trace of him was found. However, in the following days, a rifle cartridge was discovered, placed upright on a rock near a small stream. Some believed it was a deliberate sign, while others thought it was just a coincidence. But the real issue was that, aside from that cartridge, there was no physical evidence linked to Mitty. No pieces of clothing, no footprints, no sign of a fall or attack. In the area where he vanished, it was land he had hunted for years, walked across countless times, territory he knew by heart. That's what made his disappearance even stranger. One of the people who knew the area best had vanished without any logical explanation and was never found again. Nearly a year later, on December 1st, 1946, this time a young girl went missing. 18-year-old Paula Jean Weldon, a student at Bennington College, had decided to go out for some fresh air after a long, busy day on campus. She put on her red jacket, tied her boots, and told her friends she was going for a short walk before leaving the dorm. The place she chose for her walk was the Long Trail, a path that also passed through the Bennington Triangle. It was the same trail Mitty Rivers had been on. Despite his disappearance, people still used the trail often, and Paula was one of them. When Paula reached the trail, the weather was cold, but not too harsh to keep her from walking, so she went on. Along the route, she came across a few people. She even gave directions to a hiker who had lost his way, then greeted an elderly couple before continuing on. What made her so memorable to them was the red jacket she was wearing. According to the elderly couple, Paula was walking toward a bend in the trail and then suddenly disappeared. Even though the couple was just seconds behind her, when they rounded the curve, there was nothing in front of them. Paula couldn't have vanished that quickly. There was no side path she could have turned onto and no spot to hide in. The next morning, when her friends noticed Paula hadn't returned to the dorm, they quickly notified the authorities. The effort to find her soon turned into a regional operation. Since Vermont didn't have an organized state police force at the time, help was requested from neighboring states. With assistance from Massachusetts and New York, more than 600 volunteers and officials searched the area for days. Her family also offered a $5,000 reward for any information that might help find their daughter. That amount was considered huge for 1946 and would be equal to about $82,000 today. But despite all the effort, not a single trace of Paula was ever found. No shoes, no pieces of clothing, no personal belongings. It was as if the ground had opened up and swallowed Paula whole, like she had vanished from reality itself. Her disappearance would go on to become one of the most haunting and talked about chapters in the chain of mysterious vanishings in the Bennington Triangle. And then, exactly 3 years after Paula went missing, another person vanished. This time, a man named James Thetford. A 68-year-old World War I veteran, James lived quietly at the Bennington Soldiers' Home. On December 1st, 1949, he set off to visit his family in St. Albans. And after the visit, just like he always did, he boarded a bus back to Bennington. But no one knew that this trip would be his last. When the bus reached Bennington, James was nowhere to be found. Yet according to the records, his name was on the passenger list all the way to the final stop. Even more bizarre, witnesses claim they saw him still sitting in his seat just before the ride ended. And let's be honest, an elderly man like James wouldn't have been able to quietly slip off the back of a moving bus without anyone noticing. In short, no one saw him get off the bus. But what was left behind on his seat were just his suitcase and coat. James Thetford was never seen again, which leaves us with one very unsettling question. How does someone just vanish from a moving bus? Roughly 10 months after this bizarre incident, another disappearance shook the area. This time, it was an 8-year-old boy named Paul Jepsen. Paul lived with his family on a caretaker farm near Bennington, and on that day, he had gone out with his mother to run some errands on the property. She had stepped out of the vehicle for just a few minutes, but when she returned, Paul was gone. According to her, the car door had been left open, and the child had simply vanished. Search teams were brought in quickly and initially suspected that Paul may have wandered off into nearby trails. But despite combing through the area extensively, no trace of the boy was found. Tracking dogs managed to follow Paul's scent all the way to the slopes of Glastenbury Mountain. Yet even there, no clues or signs turned up. One major issue was the terrain, rugged, steep, and difficult to navigate, and that's what made it even more unbelievable. How could an 8-year-old make it that far on his own? Paul didn't know the area, and he had no one guiding him. And yet it seemed like he had walked all the way to the mountain, only to vanish. Just 16 days after Paul Jepsen disappeared, on October 12, 1950, yet another person went missing, 53-year-old Freda Langer. At the time, Freda had gone camping with her husband in Somerset, at the base of Glastonbury Mountain. Several of their relatives were camping there as well. That morning, Freda went for a hike with her cousin Herbert. But during the walk, she stepped into some water and got her shoes wet. She decided to head back to camp and change into dry ones. The camp wasn't far, so she told her cousin to wait and started walking back alone. But that was the last time anyone saw her. Despite extensive search efforts, Freda was nowhere to be found. 7 months later, in May of 1951, Freda's body was discovered. It was found near a stream, just a few kilometers from the campsite, in an area that had already been searched multiple times. Though her remains were badly decomposed, her clothes helped confirm her identity. But the timing and location of the discovery raised an eerie question. Was her body placed there after the fact? And if so, by whom? But who brought her there? Why and how? Those questions were never answered. In fact, Freda was the only one of the 5 missing individuals whose body was ever found. The other 4 remain missing to this day. These mysterious disappearances were what sparked the legend of the Bennington Triangle and cast a dark shadow over the region's reputation. So what really happened to those 5 people? Could there have been a serial killer behind it all? Or if there's a natural explanation, what's the most logical one? While no definitive answers have ever been found, several theories have emerged over the years. Some researchers believe that the region's physical landscape may have played a major role. The area known as the Bennington Triangle is a rugged zone where mountain terrain, dense forest, and confusing, intersecting trails make it incredibly easy to lose your bearings. In particular, the surroundings of Glastonbury Mountain are notorious for sudden fog, limited visibility, and slippery ground. Natural hazards that can disorient even the most experienced hikers. Experts say that in such conditions, losing your sense of direction is not just possible, it's likely. And trails like the Long Trail, which cut through thick forest, can allow someone to vanish from sight in just a few steps. In a moment of panic or after an injury, someone could be stranded with no way to call for help and never be found. Another theory suggests that these were the actions of a serial killer. Some believe that a predator may have once roamed the Bennington Triangle. Take Paula Weldon, for instance, a young woman who disappeared in broad daylight despite being seen by multiple witnesses. That certainly raises suspicion. However, there's a key flaw with this theory. In none of these cases was there any sign of a struggle, a body, or even a personal belonging left behind. If these had been human-perpetrated crimes, at least some physical evidence would have been expected, but no such clues were ever uncovered. And James Thetford's disappearance from inside a moving bus pretty much rules out the serial killer theory altogether. A crime committed in a confined space like that would have been noticed by someone. Then there are those who claim the Bennington Triangle is like the Bermuda Triangle, a place influenced by paranormal forces or even extraterrestrial beings. But even this theory, as thrilling as it sounds, remains far from rational and certainly beyond the bounds of conventional explanation. Years have passed, technology has advanced, and yet the 5 mysterious disappearances in the Bennington Triangle remain unsolved. No clues, no answers, no closure. It's as if these people didn't just vanish, they were erased from reality itself. Each theory offers a possibility, but none offers certainty. The truth is, the evidence is far too thin to reach any conclusion. Maybe someday the real story behind these disappearances will come to light. But until then, the Bennington Triangle will continue to hold on to its silence and its secrets. If this story left you intrigued, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to support this mysterious journey, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like, because the discovery of mystery is far from over. See you in the next video, and until then, take care.